All right, welcome back to the Wealth Lounge. Ryan Dunstan here, engagement specialist and mortgage coach on the Gene Fraser team. I have a special guest here with me. I have Miss Jayne'e LaMondue Price with the LaMondue Group, a realtor in the DMV area, doing her thing. Listen, I met you at an engagement or a workshop, but that was a special type of a workshop. What was that
Absolutely.
like the start? Can you tell me a little bit about
I
that?
would love to talk about that a little bit. We met at the Building Black Wealth Community Day in at the Kirkland Memorial, Second Memorial Church of God in Christ. It's an event that was held on April the 10th. Nationally. It wasn't just in the DMV,
I remember you
Baltimore
saying that.
area, but there were locals from the National Association of Real Estate Brokers, NARAB, and I'm a member of GMAR, the Greater Metropolitan Association of Realtors, and we hosted the first of many, in fact, one coming up, which we'll talk about later.
Yeah.
But we hosted the first of many Building Black Wealth Community Day, bringing real estate professionals to the community to talk about how they can build wealth.
Yeah, build wealth, maintain wealth. Yeah. I thought it was so, and we sat down and we were downstairs. I think it was a lawyer at the table. I think we had someone from the CFPB.
Yeah.
Nicole sitting at the table. I was there, and you were there talking about a lady where you had kind of helped her several times in her process.
Yes.
But because of so much community that lady was involved with, and you were kind of saying how you were knee deep into her community, not necessarily her work as per se that you were kind of owning it, but you were supporting it. Almost everything she did around the city, you were involved with.
Yes.
And I thought that was so remarkable because I said to myself, I thought, that doesn't necessarily represent real estate. So you've took a little bit of a different approach here when it comes to real estate. You've kind of owned it as a purpose type of a thing.
Definitely. It definitely a purpose. I mean, I'm about the community and as a whole and how we build that. I came from neighborhoods. We knew our neighbors, we knew our school teachers, our churches, our friends. We played outside. We sports in our community. All of that built the community. Our supermarkets. Our vendors from all types, the dressmakers, all of that. And so for me, it is more than just about real estate.
Yeah.
It's a lifestyle. It's about living the life you love and loving the life you live.
Yeah, and I could hear it all in the story. And given the fact that we were at that kind of event, and just hearing that kind of a story, it wasn't, anything that was scheduled. It was pure, it was organic. And I was kind of hearing some of the inner working conversations that goes on at these type of events, right? The type of hearts that are there, right? The type of efforts that are there. And I thought it was really special to hear you talk about one person in that regard when it came to real estate. And then I just wanted to have a longer conversation with you. And it kind of seems like this is the way that you structure your business. How long have you been in the real estate industry?
I think I've always been in the real estate industry in some format or another, but formally licensed. I've been a licensed realtor for the past 4 years. So I'm licensed in DC, Maryland, and Virginia. And enjoying it very much. Prior to that, I also held a certification in property management in California. And so I've done some property management, build up, that kind of thing. I've also did some corporate leasing on the end of the lessor, and also building up, properties from the ground up. But I got into real estate just to get a little bit more specific as a homeowner, from someone purchasing a home, again, thinking that I could not buy a home because I owned one several years before, many years ago, and thought, okay, I'm probably not going to be able to qualify. I'm probably not going to be able to get what I want. And through hard work of just making that decision and going through the process of, deciding I wanted to do it, finding a realtor, and having a good and a not so good experience, I realized that, hey, I think I found my niche. And someone else actually said, you should be doing this. So I took them up on it.
So it took a little bit of pain in order for you to find
it did.
Purpose. No, that was actually my next question. Like, what kind of inspired you to be there? And, just to get back to the conversation, man, we were having at this table, you knew personally, from community, and in the way that you described the story, and then hearing other people connect. Oh yeah, I seen her there. Oh yeah, she does the same. I just thought that was the dopest thing to witness.
Wow.
Because listen, a lot of people, they reference real estate as a purely financial gain type of an industry. There, and from my perspective anyway, I've been in real estate on the mortgage side anyway, the lending side of things, for about 5 years now. And it just kind of seemed like for a while there, things just kind of seemed a lot transactional. And I kind of, tried to bring the lending side to the community as well, but to see it working how you had it working, and it was like, oh, fine.
Wow.
Right. And it was like, and it wasn't work though. It was love.
It is.
That's the thing. Talk to me about how you approach that every day, not with how am I going to actually find my money, but how can I pour into someone's life?
Wow. I am blessed by blessing others all the time. And so you're right. I don't look at it I don't approach it as to how much I'm going to receive at the end financially, because I always get so much more than what I receive in compensation. Always. I have a joy. I get the joy of seeing people like I was that did not think that they would be able to, first-time home buyers. I work a lot with first-time home buyers, but also with families that are building opportunity for the next generation for themselves. It's very rewarding for me to do that, to see that happen, and to do that, to work with the community. One of the things we did, I don't want to jump over too much, but one of the things we did the Wednesday prior to the event that we met at was also through the Building Black Wealth, the Realtors Week. At that very church, we actually were able to start a community garden at the church, right outside of the church. And we planted and planted and planted. So now it's being harvested. And what compelled me to initiate that process was doing research around that community. There were a lot of homeowners that were very stable in their homes and all, but they were elderly people and all. And so I thought, wow, these are folks that can't necessarily always get out to the grocery store but then here's the food right there. These are folks that are on fixed incomes and that kind of thing, and so that's how our communities are built and continue to be built. And so for me, that's the real reward.
So fulfillment
is
in it for you. And I can connect there, because that's when work is not work anymore. Work is for us figuring out how to solve problems. And when you are amongst that kind of community, you run up against a lot of problems, and all the problems don't have to be your problems to solve.
That's right.
But because of the community that we've established, you might know a name. Right. And they're just the same way where someone else might know a name, and it might be your name. The person that they're talking to amongst the community that you're in is easily to connect them with you, because of the type of, putting yourself in the thick of things.
I agree.
That you've done.
I agree. Being a resource is huge value that I believe I can bring, that I bring to my business and to my clients. Being that resource for accessing information about the housing market, accessing information about the credit structure, accessing information about loans and ways to access through governmental processes, ways to access building wealth.
I tell you, man, I'm right there with you. And in my experience, trying to actually not necessarily solve a problem, but just inform.
Yeah.
Right. Trying to get people to actually understand the money side of things. Right. And then seeing that need because of, the engagement that I've done in the community. All right, this has to be done. I have to do this because I can clearly see this is a weaker area in our community. And in order for us to take an attempt and close this wealth gap, they're going to need to know this.
Yes.
Right.
Yes.
How do you get in that mind frame? What are some of the things that you've done and are going to do moving forward to kind of take the community that you've already established yourself in and begin to educate and pour in even more?
Wow, that's a good question. I continue to work with GMAR. And we're doing another Building Back Wealth Day in Capitol Heights, Maryland on June 22nd.
I got it right. Okay, make sure we talk about that.
We're going to do that on June 22nd. And so, constantly being out there reaching the community is a good way to do that. I'm also connected with, HUD. I'm finding out a lot of programs that are available. I keep my ear to the grind when it comes to any new program developments that are coming up within the communities, and the plans, the plan for the community. What are we doing for that? Because as taxpayers, that's important to know what is going on within our area. Why is the street being widened? How long is that process going to take? How will that affect the average person that's got to go back and forth every day, the person that's moving into that community or moving away from that community and wanting to, sell their home or what have you. All of these things sort of come together, and so I look at myself again as a resource to be able to really learn about what's going on and stay networking a lot and connected to find out those things.
So you're constantly looking for needs.
I am.
Answers.
Right. I'm always looking for answers.
Right, too. Because I sat in on one of your educational pieces a few weeks back when we first met. Yeah. So I know that you approach this with the solutions, and I get that. And you were great with it too.
Thank you.
You were so natural with the way that you spoke to the community because it wasn't like work. I want to make sure I nail that home, right? Yeah. Because a lot of people are afraid and intimidated to actually reach out to professionals like myself, to you, because they are expecting a financial institution or a financial understanding. And it creates this invisible barrier. We all know fear is an illusion, right?
Yeah.
So it creates this barrier and it makes it seem like, I got to come with my P's and Q's. Is my mindset right for something like this? Yeah. But when you speak in an educational environment, it is not, you must do this and you must do this and you must do this. It's, come here, give me a hug. Let me tell you what you got to do. Right? Yeah. Isn't that so much more different? Where does that come from?
I think it's natural. I have to tell you, my mother never met a stranger. And
hold on, let's say, wait. Let's say that again, because I'm going to steal this one.
I never meet a stranger. And I got that honestly from my family. It's a very genuine thing, and I love connecting with people. And I have to say that even with my clients, I don't pressure people. I don't feel pressured to put people on the spot on any in any realm. But I definitely approach every situation differently, or uniquely. I will say it that way. Each client, each relationship that I've built, it's a very specific and unique opportunity and situation. So I can't treat everyone the same. I can't treat each individual situation the same. And just having that ear to understand, to listen to what it is that their need is, as you talked about, need, and be that guidance, that guiding force to help them through the process is something that I think helps me to bring value to their process.
Well, I'll tell you what, you can definitely feel it. And I think that's actually what you're going for there, right? Because, when you start pulling on heartstrings, we're talking about more than just, transactional and black and white. We're talking about there's some emotion in there. We know that when you're approaching the home buying process, there's some fear in there.
Absolutely.
Right? So we're talking about, we're tapping into, people and breaking down their walls and
not just that, but just being that, listen, all my clients become my family. It's just what happens. Okay. I don't know how that happens, but we just kind of become family through the process. And one of the things that I recognize that real estate or purchasing a home, whether it's your first home, whether you're upsizing, downsizing, whether it's a family's home you've now had to, figure out how to sell, whether it's a first-time home buyer and renting, all of that. But the purchase itself is one of the largest, if not the, in many cases, purchases that we make. Period. And it's an investment. It's one of the largest investments that we as a people ever make in our lives. And again, first time, second time, it doesn't matter. It's always unique. It always feels like the first time, no matter what. And so there's so many decisions that come within that process. Whether it be, how can I prepare this house to sell? Where am I going to go after I sell the home?
Right.
Whether it be, hey, it's time for us to move. We've saved up. Is it enough money that we've saved? There's so many questions and so much anxiety that goes with that you need a partner in that process with you that is going to listen, and is going to understand, and is going to be your family through the process, because it's a very personal situation.
It is. Now, everyone listening in, I'm a very vulnerable person. And I truly believe that there are the rough moments that gives us the best lessons.
Yes.
Now, as a family member in this process, and I too have had clients where I have had to be the family member to provide a little bit of truthful love.
Yeah.
Right?
Yep.
Because you're right, this is going to be one of the, if not the biggest purchase of someone's financial portfolio, right? And it is going to single-handedly change the financial trajectory of their financial futures.
Yes.
So there's a lot on the line. So the fear of it is understandable. But I found that in my truthful family membering, that I've had to become some sort of counselor.
Yeah.
Because a little bit has to be tough love, and then a little bit also has to be directing and correcting, and then a little bit has to be calming down. How do you kind of nurture your clients in the turbulent moments of because every transaction is going to have some sort of turbulent moment in it?
I think that's where a lot of times I switch less from the emotional standpoint and more really truly, that's where the business part comes in at. Because that's what I am hired to be. It's their fiduciary in order to really, really guide them in the right way. And I'm not there to make the decision for them.
Right.
I'm there to give them the information so that they are truly, truly well informed in order to be able to make that decision for themselves. Yeah. And so for me, I sometimes do have to get stern and say, hey, listen, let me just explain what you have said you want, and then let me explain you where we are today. And these are the decisions that you guys have to make. I mean, I have all kinds of wonderful, fun situations that you look back on and you're like, whoa. And it could be something as easy as a recent transaction that I had where we were looking at homes, and both of them were, the husband and the wife were on the same page at the beginning of everything, but she was very gracious about, hey, she had very little on her list, and he had a whole lot on his list. And they called me up, Jayne'e, we think we found the house. And I said, oh, let's look into it, because it's a lot of times, I mean, I provide lists and opportunities for them to find them. But, with the technology today, Many couples or people have, all of these resources that are pinging them on their phones all the time. And so something may reach them before I had a chance to tell them about it.
Mm-hmm.
So they reach out to me, this is it. And we walk into the home, and I could see two different facial expressions. The husband's face was like that, and the wife's face was like that. And I thought, oh my God, this is going to be really tough, because for the first time, I had not seen them where they were communicating together.
Mm-hmm.
Before they were saying, oh, I like this, what about that, or you don't like this. But this point, it was a complete divide amongst them.
Mm-hmm.
And she shut all the way down and was so quiet through the rest of it. And it was just, man, and we're getting this house. And it was very hard to try to help him understand that this is a dual process, and almost advocate for him to kind of listen and to what she had to say.
Yeah.
And again, that's that family member piece where you pick up on something like that. Is that part of your role as an agent? Maybe not, but maybe so.
Right,
and so
right.
It allowed me to just sort of step back, and I had to go to her and say, you're going to be okay.
Yeah.
You're going to be okay. Let's give it a night. And then through the night, in fact, I don't even think it was the entire night, the perfect house popped up. And it was getting dark outside, and I said, let's go look at this one anyway. And we went to that one, and it was the one.
Yeah.
So that is where patience does have to come in, but also divine intervention too.
Right.
Because I prayed about it.
Listen, I love that you took it there, because you're right. I mean, you do have, first of all, you have to be a great communicator.
Yeah.
Right? Because there are times where you have to be able to not necessarily do the communicating, but realize when someone is not.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
And that's it. Listen, having a professional on your side who understands the human behavior, right? Those life experiences where you can kind of see the needle moving, but no one wants to say anything. The elephant entering the room that no one wants to acknowledge. You have to know how to wrestle with that elephant too, or at least back that elephant out of that room and say, here, not right now.
Right.
I love that you took it there. And I also love the fact that you said, hey, listen, these are the moments where I show up and still be the professional I need to be for my clients. Because you're right. There is a gray area that we have to do as professionals in this business, operating with people who are dealing with real life.
Yes.
Right. And trying to make a professional transaction work.
That's
for
right.
them, right. And we have to navigate and liaison those efforts. And I think that one of the great things, when you can look at a person and say, okay, I know how I have to be.
Yeah.
And when you can look at another person and say, okay, I know how I have to be, and now I have to bridge the two. That's stuff that's not taught in the real estate class.
No, it's not. But I also I respect and truly appreciate the trust that is given by others in me. I really take that to heart. For someone to trust me with their personal information, someone to trust me with their ideas, with their vision, whether it be, hey, I want to open a restaurant and I need to find the perfect location, and them to trust me with understanding what that means to them, what the perfect location might be, helping them to pull down their data, because that isn't necessarily just the realtor's.
Right.
I mean, at the realtor's job, but I do go over and beyond that. Let's look at what's in this area, what the traffic looks like, those kinds of things, and ideas to help them to really make that decision that is going to help them to build the wealth that they're trying to build. And so I take that very. I'm humble about that. I'm very humbled that people trust me with their life's decision. Such a heavy decision like this. It's humbling.
Yeah. And to see you approach it with humility and not arrogance is admirable. Let's take a switch here. Let's switch gears.
Okay.
Let's switch gears up a little bit.
Okay.
Now, we're in a hot market, right? Inventory is low, interest rates are high, and there is such a demand for homes. Right, so you can see how competitive.
Yes, it has become.
So how are you? So I guess my first question about this is, how are you staying up to date on what's hot? What are the trends? Because you work and this is one of your attributes, not as a matter of fact. I mean, you work in such a broad area.
Yeah.
Right. You working in PG County, District Heights. You're working in parts of VA. You working in Baltimore, Baltimore County, almost Harford County. You talk about Maryland, right? It's like it's a broad area to understand. There's a lot of markets to tap into. How do you handle all that?
Well, a couple of things. One, I have to be honest, I am associated with a really strong brokerage, Arla Ad Properties. And Arla is very at the forefront of the market, and they provide lots of data and support and resources to the agents that fall under their umbrella. And I harness that. I actually look forward to receiving updated information, all of that. I stay in tuned with market trends, all those things. I follow, I have good relationships with lenders like yourself and others. I'm always asking questions. I ask a lot of questions all the time that help me to be able to give that information out and be that resource to others, to clients and all. Keeping your ear to the grind is important, and understanding what's happening in your market. And especially, I'll say, you talked about the broad range in the DMV, Baltimore area and all. When we look at trends on a national level, you hear on CNN or World News Tonight or something like that, when they're talking about the housing market, they're looking at it from Oklahoma, Idaho, Mississippi to New York, to DC.
Very general,
and so what I like to do is bring it very local. And that's what Arla is able to help me to provide to my clients, is local information, data that's happening within the areas. And so it's so different. The weather could not be that different in DC than it is, say, here in Baltimore. But what we deal with affordability is a lot different, as an example. And the programs that are offered in the intercity versus what's happening, out in PG County or Montgomery County or Glen Burnie area or Baltimore County versus the city is so different, or even in Virginia area. So it is such a diverse market, but it's strong in that our economy in this area is a little different, or quite different than it is in Michigan or in other places. And so I really try to pay attention to what's happening locally and in this area, not just not get tuned in and so focused on a big global, the national market. And it helps me to be that resource for really what people need where I am. And how to help people where they are.
I tell you, going back to this the conversation we were having at the table, and listening to this lady that you helped, buy several houses. And at this particular time, she was living in Virginia, and you had helped her there. But now she was looking to get into Baltimore.
That's right.
And to hear you talk about the markets, and I'm thinking to myself, now I know that's VA, and I know this is Baltimore, and I know there's about 7 or 8 different counties in between here, right? So to hear you know exactly where to go with the conversation and how to be there for her, right? How to find her need and how to have a solution to her need, to continue to strengthen your community efforts and to actually pour back into the people who need those answers. It wasn't work. It's
so much fun. It really is. I really do like it. I enjoy it a lot. I enjoy coming into learning about myself. I love learning about the different neighborhoods and communities around. I enjoy that a lot. I drive a lot. I have no problem just rolling, just getting out there, rolling from anywhere from Western Maryland. I think there's not all the way to Southeastern Virginia. I really get off the main highway and try to figure out what's going on in that community, and well, I want to be a part of them all. I really do. If I could live everywhere, I would. And so since I can't,
you probably could do that too. I'll tell you, I wouldn't put
I have lived in a lot of places.
Really?
Yes, I have. Quite a bit.
So doing this at this capacity, staying tapped in, it doesn't even seem like it's hard for you, right? So with that being said, you got, maybe you got a showing here in Baltimore, maybe you got something down in PG. But no matter what market you're in, when your client gets into the negotiations, there's one person you're fighting for, right?
That's right.
Your client. And I could hear you turn it on and turn it off, because a lot of times we're working in a gray area. We got to switch to the counselor and then switch to okay, now it's time to be stern.
Right.
It's time to be, resilient in some ways, because there's going to be a lot of offers on this one property. How do you approach the negotiations for your client?
Well, as I mentioned, I understand that I am their fiduciary, and I'm there to truly act on in their best interest. I don't build adversarial, I don't know the right word, adversarial relationships with my counterparts and all. I mean, I'm not a fighting negotiator. I'm a fighter, but I'm not someone that's creating a problem all the time. I don't think that we need to have that to happen, because I respect the person that's on the other side and what they're doing. I understand that their clients are there, they have their client's best interest in mind. And I like that they understand that I have my client's best interest in mind. So let's look at really what we're looking at. So I'm very methodical when it comes to that kind of thing. Let's look at the documents. Let's look at what the numbers say. Let's look at making this thing work, because that's what we're here to do. We're here to make it work to everybody's best interest. And so I negotiate fairly. I'm a strong negotiator, though. I mean, I'm there to win.
I figured you were. So, I can listen.
I'm there to win now. Don't get me wrong.
Let me tell you something. You can't love the way you love without going through some things, right? So the fact that you know how to communicate the way that you do means you've been through some moments where you've had to figure out how to communicate that way, right? So you've been through some things to give you some of the attributes you have when it comes to showing up for your clients at this negotiation table. So I'm pretty sure you can be pretty thick-skinned and sitting there,
and I come from a labor background, so bargaining and understanding contracts and all of that is a strength that I bring to the table. But at the table is my time to truly confirm to my clients why it is that they got me working for them.
I love the way you put that right there.
I mean, that's where you got to know, okay, this is why she's getting paid.
I said that with a smile, but I am not playing with you. Right. No, I got it. I got it. Let's talk about that contract portion, though.
Okay.
Because I've had some clients think that they can just back up out of that thing. And it doesn't work that way,
No,
does it?
It doesn't. And I have to say this. Explaining everything clearly up front really is a huge benefit and importance for. It's one of the best things that you can do for somebody is be clear with them from the beginning. Just explain it to them from the beginning, and that way when it's time to present that contract for us to sign or what have you, we've already talked about this. So at that point, it's remember, this means this and that. And not being afraid to repeat yourself, to talk about it again. It's okay that we can't shy away from, as we talked about, those difficult pieces to it. And having people to really understand that this is a binding agreement. And this is the first of a whole lot of papers that you're going to be signing. And actually to be honest with you, it starts with their contract with me. And a lot of people don't want to talk about that either, but the first agreement that is made is made between me and the client before they make an agreement on what contract they're going to put a home down for or anything like that. So if they're clear about that, they see how I'm explaining our relationship together, our contract together, then it's going to be easier after that for them to understand these other contracts, and that they don't, that they're not just pieces of paper and we can just sign and be okay with it.
And just simply make a decision in the process, right? I mean, there's the clients deserve clarity.
Absolutely.
To make a choice.
I want it. Exactly. I'm a client. I want it. So
yeah, it's a basic need. I need clarity in order to make the best decision possible in this moment. I love the fact that you were able to kind of notice that. I haven't had anyone point that out. It's because, one of the greatest things you could do for someone is be clear.
Yeah.
Let me ask you, I know that, that's another version of care, making sure that a person truly understands the decision that they're making for the next 30 years.
Yes.
Right? That's another version of care. And to hear you talk about it that way means you understand it a different way. Like I've heard realtors say, this contract is binding, this contract is this, and this contract is that. But to hear you say, but we need to explain that more, we need to go further, we can do it multiple times, means you're taking an additional step. They had this, the lawsuit, the decision with, what is it?
The NAR.
Yeah, NAR. Yep. And you're explaining, because the debate was, do you need a realtor?
Right.
Right. And you're basically explaining the care that's in it, the care in the negotiations, the care in the understanding multiple markets, the care in approaching it from a community building standpoint.
That's right.
The care in understanding the communication that needs to be there at the table, but then also the care and understanding that the lack of communication that needs to be there for two clients that needs to have the same decision on the property they're getting ready to purchase for the next 30 years. You are telling a story here, which is proving the point that you need this kind of care to make this kind of purchase. Talk about that for a second.
I agree with that. I think that there are people that can DIY it, or they can feel they can DIY it. And there are people that may believe that if you're a buyer, that may believe that when someone tells them, a seller, or say you walk into a brand new development and you go into a brand new development, they'll tell you automatically, they're going to ask you, they're not even going to ask you sometimes if you're even represented by someone, because they have you feeling, oh, well, we do the contracts, we do everything, you don't need someone on that other side because, we got you. And you're okay. And you don't realize that person works for the other people that are hiring you.
And they might not lie, but they might keep some things.
Or not only that, but they may fail, not even any intention of their own to give you information or to answer questions that you need to know, because they're not looking at it one-sided.
Right.
And sometimes you do need to look at something just from the lens of the position that you're in, one-sided.
Yeah.
And when you're looking at it from all the directions, all the different directions, then you find you're going to miss something sometimes. Right. And so having that other person there for you that's working on your behalf avoids you things later on.
Right.
I mean, you can go through it, but then maybe you got to hire an attorney to help you get out of the mess that you just put yourself in because of that. You didn't have that professional that could help to explain that to you or whatever. So maybe you had to pay for that, but you paid for it from on the front end versus how much agony and everything that you might have to pay for it on the back end.
Right.
And so so with this new suit and development, it raises a lot of questions for people, but in all honesty, I've never operated any differently in the past than I think I would, going forward. And I believe that there are many agents like myself that are out there that are doing it from the beginning. They're explaining the choices that you have from the very beginning. And so a lot of this is just fear.
Yeah.
It's being put out.
Yeah.
In my opinion.
And no, I agree with your opinion. And just to add to that opinion and to kind of drill it home here, there's so many things that can go wrong in a real estate transaction. I've seen it unravel from the closing table on down.
Yeah.
Right. And I've seen property value arguments, and I've seen comp, rebuttals. I've seen appraisal rebuttals. I've seen inspection issues. I've seen so much stuff happen on a walkthrough. I've seen so many things go wrong in this process. And to have a professional know the laws, be the professional, right?
Yeah.
You talked about it a little earlier, and I'm highlighting it here. To have someone be the professional, to know the laws, to know your rights, to know it's so important. And you tapped on it just a little while ago with knowing who's not communicating, knowing what questions you're not being asked by the opposite side is so important, right? Knowing your choices, knowing what's available to you, knowing how, knowing when, that knowing the market. Oh my gosh, that is so important. You just talked about the differences in price. And I just want to make sure we highlight this for a second, because the difference between you being pre-approved in terms of your DTI, your debt to income ratio, could be a property tax from PG County to Baltimore.
That's right.
You know what I'm saying? One HOA could take you outside of your pre-approval. Right? Talk about the differences in price, and then talk about those other things like an HOA that gets tapped on to your payment that most people are not really prepared for.
I think that it's not just in addition to the HOA or any fees because I have to say, I've run across a lot of very educated or somewhat educated buyers. Okay. I don't make any assumptions that a person that's come to the level of, hey, I'm ready to make that purchase. And I've even spoken to people that maybe aren't ready, but they want a roof over their heads. They do think they want home ownership, but they don't realize how close they are to realizing that to happen. And we steer away from things like condominium fees or HOA or things like that, when it really is about affordability and what your budget can hold, and what lifestyle that you're trying to live. So when you break down it, like what's the true need of it, then there is something for everybody. There's the 1-bedroom, co-op. There's the condo. There's the, 5-acre, home. There's something for everybody. And so, but it is about understanding that, and not just what's going to happen now, but what's going to happen. What does escrow really look like? And what does escrow mean? Okay.
Yes.
And what happens once we purchase this home? Are we really looking at next year, when the home is revalued by the taxes at the price that you purchased it for, and the neighborhood that you purchased it for? Understand that you're going to possibly get a notice from your mortgage company that says you have a shortage in your escrow account, and now your payment is going to go up by X amount of dollars. And that may not scare you on the forefront if someone like myself has explained that to you while we're at the table, because we're looking at what we can afford. We need to look at, hey, what happens if we're going to end up having to pay more in a year from now? Are we going to be able to do that, buying this home, making this purchase, this level? Or do we need to look at something along this level that is going to give us that cushion that we need for what's going to happen down the line? So really explaining those processes is important versus them getting a letter in the mail and it's saying all of a sudden $300 more, your mortgage is going up.
Yeah.
Or what does this mean when I work real closely with the lenders to help us to understand what we're doing, what these buy downs truly mean, what's going to happen year 2, what does these even the programs, these first-time homebuyer programs, what's the difference in a program that and Jayne, I had a chance to do the session when we met with one of your colleagues, Gene Frazier, and one of the things that he does, I love, is educate on the differences in the programs, and some are loans, some are grants, some are and you know the right term, but some are you have to pay back at a percentage if you move or anything within a certain period of time. So it's not like free money or what have you. And some come with higher interest rates when it comes down to making the application for them and those kinds of things. And so
you're referring to the community seconds.
The community seconds, yes.
And some depreciate, some are at a 0%, some you don't owe back any, some you might have to pay back when you sell a house. If you never sell a house, you never have to pay it back. There's a bunch of different moving parts when it comes to those types of things. But you're right. Understanding what you're getting into is half the battle as well.
It's
because
half the battle.
You're right. $300 increase in someone's budget can make or break a budget. Like let's be honest here.
It looked great a year ago when you were buying this home, or right now. Hey, but as the property values are reassessed or what have you, it's not a bad thing.
No,
that's what our community is about. That's what that means. That's really great, because now we've got equity. We come in with a real stake in what happens within our community. We get to vote for the right for the elected officials and all of these things. Now we have this is home, and so so loving where you live is and living where you love it has a lot of parts to it. It's bigger than just how cute the color of the paint is on the walls. And,
right. Forward thinking. This is forecasting. This is forecasting thinking. And the thing is, you don't always get this kind of care when you think you can do it by yourself.
Right.
Listen, for everything that I've heard from you, there's got to be some crazy success stories. Right? Give me the one success story that's from a community that you've been in there servicing, and then you found out what a need was, and you thought to yourself, I'm going to solve this need, and then you provided a solution to the need, and now these people can live in a different understanding of what they just experienced.
Wow.
Instead of thinking that they will never be able to.
You're right. There are a few. And gosh, I can tell you recently something that really gave me a really great feeling about what I do and who I am as a realtorist. And it's what's happening actually in the Baltimore city area, as a matter of fact. Baltimore has great, and other cities do too. DC has a great one as well, but I want to speak about this particular situation. I ran across a young mother who works and trying to get everything done and for herself and all, and was paying quite a bit monthly for rent, and she could afford to pay that for owning something and really having a home for her three children. And so she was able to, we were able to get, because I consider her, it's all part of it, but we were able to access two programs that the vacant to value and it's not the CDBG anymore, it's called something else now, but two programs within the city that allowed her to be able to get $20,000 in down payment assistance. With that, through the vacant to value program, the seller of the property developed the property, just took it down from scratch all the way up, and it was so cool to see that. Yeah, we she got a new bathroom and all that, but she got new bathroom fixtures. The piping, the plumbing was new, the HVAC was new, the roof was new. Things that later down the line will be are so
10,000,
important
15,000.
for yes,
yeah.
a brand new, so she started off with a completely clean slate and a beautiful home, and was able to get into this home in a community that is transitioning, in a transitioning community. And now as a homeowner, she has the ability to really, really make it home and make it community, because she's one of many that are brand new within that community. And so it felt really good to see this happen. I feel like that is a true success story, because when she started, she had no, I'm not going to, when I first met her, I'm not going to be able to buy a house or whatever. And when she realized, I think over a couple of months, what she was paying in someone, for rent, she turned to me and said, "I'm going to buy a home." And I said, "Well, that's all you got to do is just say you're going to do it. And then I believe you can do it. Let's see what we can do.
Right.
Let's try to,
because I got the solutions."
So, yeah. Okay, then.
I got
the answers. Work, though.
Right,
she did the work.
Right.
I have to say that, you got to not just, as we're here as a resource and to help you, and I'm going to help you in a lot of ways that many people, won't go that extra mile any longer.
For sure.
But
you have a hand.
You have to do the work. You have to fill out the application. You got to go get all the paperwork that's needed. You're going to have to answer the questions that the financial people are asking for. That you got to do the work, and that was what I think caused her success. Was she did the work, put her in that position.
Yeah. I love that, because she can't do the work without the direction.
Yes,
And I think that's where you come in, right? The family member, that you didn't know a realtor could be. I think that's like one of
auntie.
Right, exactly, right. That's exactly where I was going with that, man. That is awesome. Listen. I know we're running out of time, and I want to make sure that everyone that is tapping in can receive from you, can actually be poured into from you. Tell everybody how they can get in contact with you, and your links, websites, everything.
Oh, wow. Thank you for the opportunity, first of all, and what you're doing with the Wealth Building, with the Wealth Lounge. Okay, I really, really think that it's a great resource within the real estate community, but also to the community itself. And so, Ryan, I just have to say thank you for allowing me to be able to share what I have to give to the community. Again, my name is Jayne'e LaMondue Price, and I'm with the LaMondue Group. You can find us at LaMondueGroup.com. Follow me on Instagram at JLP_real estate. I'm on Facebook, JLP Real Estate, and X, Twitter, JLP Real Estate. My email address is Jayne'e at LaMondueGroup.com. That's JAYNE at LaMondueGroup.com. And 301-512-7922. You can always text or call.
And just in case you don't feel like rewinding to get everything, it'll be in the description of every link that this video will be on.
Yeah.
All right.
And I just want to say one other thing, as a shameless plug.
No,
but if you are in the Prince George's County area on Saturday, June 22nd, from 10 a.m. until 2 p.m., I, myself, and the Greater Metropolitan Association of Realtors, along with the Trinidad Baptist Church, we will be at Trinidad Baptist Church. Myself, many others, people from HUD, people from Benchmark Mortgage, people from all over will be there to give. We'll have credit counselors, attorneys there to talk about estate planning, all types of wealth building opportunity to have you there. So I'll have some posts up on my social media, but you could definitely follow gmarrealtist.com and get that information. But it's Saturday, June 22nd at the Trinidad Baptist Church.
Tap in.
Yeah.
Peace.